Tonight at 9:30pm GMT, I shall be hosting a Prime Minister's Questions Response stream over on the Cthulhu-Kin Friends show. No doubt Brexit will be one of the biggest topics of the stream. In fact, I would argue that with the ongoing talks between May and Corbyn, and the failed attempt of Theresa May to negotiate a better deal and get the lengthy extension she's after till June, many are going to start crying that a potential no deal may happen as a legal default, no matter how hard the MPs try and change that. Link to my channel, the Cthulhu-Kin and Friends show, down below. Now the subject of today's video is going to get really interesting. For me, it concerns the fate of the high street. As many of you all know, over the last 10, maybe 15 years, internet shopping has become more and more prevalent, to the point where the majority of people would use Amazon Prime to get what they need within the next 24 hours, because that saves them having to leave their home to go down to the high street and risk bumping into people, having to fight people for things, and possibly pay a higher price for something they could pay less for online if they were just a little more patient. As a consequence, high streets have started to die off. In the UK, this has become quite common. Many companies that haven't adapted to internet shopping as well, going into administration, or downsizing because they realise that they are not a part of a market they should be a part of or should have gotten into years ago, and as a consequence their profits have taken a massive knock, or a nosedive depending on which way you look at it. A knock if they're still in business, a nosedive if they're in administration or gone entirely. There are a few retailers that not just adapted, but flourished. Sports Direct is one of the prime examples of that in the United Kingdom. For those who are not familiar, Sports Direct is owned by a man called Mike Ashley. Sports Direct is one of the largest sport clothing distributors in the country. Mike Ashley has amassed a phenomenal wealth, not just through Sports Direct, but also because he owns Newcastle Football Club, and he's also a major shareholder in a number of other retailers. He has sat in committees and debated saving the high street, helping to rejuvenate, because he cares about the high street, because it is quite important for that whole social community aspect. Granted, socializing has changed, and as I said, internet shopping has become more prevalent, but the whole community thing in some places is quite important. It's why you don't see major shopping markets or big retailers in small villages, because those villages don't need them or want them, and they'll go so far as to say, we don't want it, so we won't shop at it, to the point where it eventually just goes away because they realise, oh look, we can't make money from these people because they care more about their community. Although there is a bit of a fine line, I guess, because just because you're a big retailer doesn't mean you can't be a part of the community. It's worth pointing that out, I guess. I brought up Mike Ashley on purpose, and we'll get to him soon enough. I do want to be clear, he's not a good guy. While what he is doing is admirable, and one must respect what he is doing to try and give towns and cities a fair chance, he has a remarkable track record, like most employers to be honest, of treating employees like dirt. Sports Direct, in fact, are quite well known for 0-hour contracts. I personally actually had a job with them, with one of those contracts. I made exactly nothing, because I didn't get any hours, ever, which is quite sad, to employ people but not give them work. There are other cases involving Sports Direct that are certainly worth addressing, but I think I'll just link them in the description for you. Some of them are quite disturbing. Now, I brought Mike Ashley up because, as I stated, he owns shares in other companies. One of those companies is one of those companies that failed to adapt and properly follow the times, as it were, in the sense that if internet shopping is more prevalent, perhaps they should have branched out sooner and maybe not just appeal to one particular market. Their company is called Debenhams. Debenhams is a wannabe middle-class company that sells trash, to be honest. Because of that, they didn't really have a niche in the market. They were basically Marks and Spencer's light. Mike Ashley owns about 21% of the company, and when it started running the risk of going to administration, which could have cost thousands of jobs, he offered to buy the company. But for reasons beyond anyone's understanding, they decided they didn't want the lowly oik to run their business, and instead chose administration. They rejected a takeover offer that would have allowed him to properly reinvest in the company, allow him to do what he has done very well with Sports Direct, and give the company the lease of life it required and guarantee the safety of those employees whose jobs are now still at risk. Thousands of jobs at risk. Because what? You don't want an oik in charge? Because there's no reason given why, so one must assume his lack of class would be the reason. When you're offered an opportunity to save that many jobs and keep that many shops from going under, one must look at it as a viable option, and he is one of the few people in this country who not only has the means, but also the experience and the stability from his own company to keep Debenhams going, while also adapting it to suit a more commercially viable market, i.e. the oiks. But as Debenhams have rejected this, they are in administration, and there is now a risk that they will in fact go down. A number of businesses have gone down and had to somehow survive or manage to bounce back because they managed to make a deal. HMV, a rather large media distributor, has gone into administration a number of times, but managed to survive, downsize, and managed to rebuild. Unsurprisingly, they are being outdone because of things like Spotify, iTunes Music, other music players, I don't know. What else? Amazon Music, they do music, right? Yeah, sure, them too. HMV had to adapt. They haven't done a very good job of it, but they've tried. A bit late on them, I guess. With Debenhams, they never really cornered a market. They just existed. And as someone that used to live near a very large Debenhams, I'm very concerned for the future of those employees, which to me is more important. If you can rebrand, rebuild, and create something that now works and offers services to customers who would want it on a more regular basis, or appeal to more people enough to go and buy what you sell, it is more likely that the high street itself or the shops in question that don't do this because they think they're a niche and therefore they must be edgy boys in some way, by standing out and being unique all the while not making any sales, are you hipsters? Because you're not doing the more commercially successful, you will be overwhelmed with failure. It is inevitable that you will fail at that point. And with internet shopping becoming more and more and more prevalent, common and easy to do, you have to adapt. Because the high street, I don't think, personally, will be here forever. If you can buy your food online, why bother going to the supermarket? Thankfully, the supermarket's adapted, though. Since they themselves deliver their own food, they can keep the supermarket there and provide the delivery services from that supermarket. Garden centres also do that. In fact, a number of services do that. The ones that don't are ones that you can't. For example, pubs. But that's okay. You can still buy your booze from the supermarket. There is a lengthy list of things you can and can't buy realistically online and have delivered within 24 hours, but Amazon Prime pretty much ensures that you'll be fine with it. To give a final thought on Debenhams, I firmly believe you have made a mistake not allowing Mike Ashley to take over the company, to guarantee the jobs, rebuild the company from the ground up, make it into something more appealing to a wider market, which is what I believe he would do, and give Debenhams longevity. How much longevity? Who knows? We won't know until he takes over, if at all. But I do believe, with those who care enough about the high street and the communities, because I do believe he cares about that, because he knows his business is dependent on that, I firmly believe you should have let him take over, so he could use his experience and expertise to best suit Debenhams, instead of what appears to be a class-related rejection of somebody you don't like just cause he's an oik. With the high street, the only thing I can suggest for their future is that they adapt. Oh, and coffee shops, they're the ones that can't do yet. I should have mentioned that with pubs. Obviously, them bakeries, butchers, don't really deliver on the same day, although butchers can. Some can, the bigger one. High streets will have to adapt as well. There are many services that cannot be provided unless you go to their store. For example, opticians. But as far as high street longevity goes, I get the feeling when all retailers are basically just one big warehouse, floating somewhere in the ocean so they don't have to pay taxes. The only things you'll have left are opticians, real estate agents, pubs, bakeries maybe, and the odd bookstore. Not that it matters really, because I'm sure you can still buy all of that on Amazon. If I could get my Belgian buns from Amazon, I probably would, but they'd have to be as good as the ones in my town. I should probably talk to my bakery and see if they can set up an Amazon account, see if they'll deliver with Prime. I wonder if I've needed my sarcasm sign for any of the comments I've made in this video today. Anyway, if I don't see you over on the Cthulhu-Kin and Friends show tonight at 9:30 PM GMT for the Prime Minister's Questions Response, hope you all have a lovely Wednesday, and thank you all for listening.